The screen doesn't wake up, it remembers you. There is no chime, no sudden flash, no aggressive glare designed to pry your eyes open in the half-light of dawn. Just a slow, deliberate brightening that matches the rhythm of your pulse, calibrated to the ambient temperature of the room, the angle of your hand, the faint shift in your breathing as you reach for it. You don't unlock it so much as it unlocks itself to you. The fingerprint sensor doesn't scan, it recognizes. The lock screen doesn't display time and date like a digital billboard, it breathes your wallpaper. A photograph you took 3 years ago of a fog-drenched coastline doesn't sit passively behind system elements. It yields. The clock drifts to the edge. The notification badges dissolve into soft halos. The interface doesn't compete with your memory, it frames it, and by the time you've taken your first sip of coffee, you realize something has quietly shifted in the way you inhabit your own day. One UI 9.0 isn't installed on your phone. It's woven into it. For years, we treated smartphones like slot machines. We pulled them from our pockets hoping for a hit, a message, a like, a braking alert, anything to validate the reflex. One UI 9.0 dismantles that architecture. It doesn't silence notifications, it interrogates them. Before a single banner touches your screen, a quiet layer of on-device reasoning asks, is this relevant? Is it urgent? Does it align with your current rhythm? If you're drafting a proposal, a group chat about weekend plans dissolves into a muted summary. If you're walking through a crosswalk, a calendar reminder about a dentist appointment waits until you're seated and still. The system doesn't guess. It learns. Not by uploading your habits to a cloud server, but by mapping them locally, in the secure enclave of your neural processor, where they're treated not as data to be sold, but as context to be respected. The notification shade is no longer a dumping ground. It's a curated ledger. Urgent items sit at the top in crisp, high-contrast type. Time-sensitive alerts fade gracefully once their window closes. Promotional noise is folded into a collapsible drawer that never interrupts your flow. You don't manage your attention anymore. The system guards it for you. And the strangest part? You stop checking your phone so often. Not because you're disciplined, but because there's nothing left to miss. We used to measure progress in megahertz and millisecond boot times. One UI 9.0 measures it in stillness. Beneath the glass, the architecture has been rewritten from the ground up. The scheduler no longer throws raw power at every task like a sledgehammer. It distributes energy like water through a network of smart valves. When you're reading an ebook, the display drops to a whisper-quiet 1 Hz, the processor idles in a low-power state, and background sync pauses without breaking a single thread of your experience. The moment you swipe to open a heavy editing app, resources flow instantly, seamlessly, without the stutter of thermal throttling or the panic of a sudden battery drop. The cooling system doesn't react to heat, it predicts it. Graphene layers and micro-vapor channels work in tandem with predictive load balancing, spreading thermal stress before it ever reaches the surface. You can record 4K video while navigating live traffic, and the chassis stays cool. Not because it's suppressing performance, but because it's optimizing the dance between silicon and software. Battery life stops being a countdown and becomes a companion. The charging algorithm learns your circadian rhythm. If you plug in at midnight, it slows to a gentle trickle past 80%, minimizing electrochemical stress. If you grab it at 6 a.m. with 15% left, it delivers a rapid 20-minute surge that gets you through the morning commute. None of this requires your input. None of it demands your oversight. It simply works. And when it works this quietly, you stop thinking about your phone's health. You just live your life, and it keeps up. There's a tension in modern technology that we've quietly accepted as inevitable. The more connected we become, the more exposed we feel. One UI 9.0 resolves that tension not by building walls, but by installing windows with adjustable opacity. The privacy screen no longer relies on polarized film that dulls your display. It uses a dynamic viewing angle matrix that dims sensitive content from oblique perspectives while preserving full clarity for your direct line of sight. You can review financial statements on a crowded train, read confidential emails in a shared workspace, or unlock your health records in a waiting room without the subtle panic of someone glancing over your shoulder. The system knows when a second face enters the frame through the front-facing camera's spatial mapping. And it responds instantly, blurring private content until you're alone again. App permissions are no longer binary switches. They're temporal contracts. You can grant location access for a single ride-share trip, microphone access for one voice memo, or camera access for a specific QR scan. The system logs every request, every grant, every revocation in a transparent ledger that's readable in plain language, not legal jargon. And when an app tries to access your hardware in the background, a soft indicator pulses in the status bar. One swipe terminates it. No confirmation dialogues, no buried settings, just immediate, unambiguous control. This isn't paranoia codified into software, it's dignity engineered into silicon. Your data doesn't leave the device unless you explicitly send it. Your habits aren't profiled, your life isn't packaged. It's protected, and in an era where convenience is often just surveillance in disguise, that distinction feels less like a feature and more like a promise. We've spent a decade pretending that multiple devices are separate tools. One UI 9.0 treats them as a single instrument played across different surfaces. You don't sync your phone to your tablet, your watch, your laptop. You step into a continuum, copy a paragraph from a research paper on your flagship device. Walk to the kitchen, open your tablet, paste it into your Notes app before your finger even leaves the screen. No cloud latency, no account prompts, just local, encrypted handoff over ultra-wideband and Wi-Fi direct. The universal clipboard doesn't ask you to trust a server, it asks your devices to trust each other. Focus modes operate as a shared nervous system, enable deep work on your phone, and your watch mutes social pings, your tablet dims entertainment tabs, your earbuds shift to voice isolation mode, and your smart lights cool to a neutral tone. The ecosystem doesn't mirror your phone, it extends your intention. Handoff isn't a gimmick, it's continuity. Start a video call on your wrist while your hands are full. Transfer it to your phone as you sit down. Finish it on your desktop without dropping a syllable, losing a frame, or breaking eye contact. Drag and drop works across app boundaries like muscle memory. Pull a photo from your gallery into an email draft. Drop a tracking number from a message into a shipping form. The system remembers your preferred split-screen combinations and suggests them before you swipe. It's not a walled garden, it's a bridge. And it's built on open protocols that respect your choice of hardware, your workflow, your time. You stop juggling devices, you start moving through them. Design is often mistaken for addition, more icons, more colors, more animations, more toggles. One UI 9.0 understands that true design is subtraction. The interface doesn't shout, it breathes. Glass morphism isn't used as decoration, it's used as hierarchy. Frosted layers create depth without clutter. Floating elements detach from screen edges to reduce visual noise. Icons are given subtle dimensional weight, not to impress, but to guide. The home screen no longer begs for your attention. It waits for it. You can hide app names entirely. You can collapse docks. You can strip away every non-essential element until only the tools you actually use remain, and when you do, the phone stops feeling like a dashboard and starts feeling like a blank page. The animations don't chase spectacle. They follow physics. Momentum curves match your thumb. Deceleration feels natural. Transitions don't interrupt thought. They complete it. There's no fake urgency, no promotional banners, no AI-generated wallpapers that turn your memories into algorithmic art. Just clean lines, intentional spacing, and a visual language that respects your cognitive load. The system doesn't try to be the smartest thing in the room, it tries to be the quietest. And in that quiet you find something rare. Space. Space to think, space to create, space to be present. That's not minimalism for aesthetics, it's minimalism for survival. The camera system no longer asks you to become a technician, it asks you to become a witness. Computational photography has finally stopped trying to outperform reality and started trying to honor it. The main sensor doesn't just capture light, it interprets mood. Shadows retain depth without crushing into black voids. Highlights keep their shape without blowing out into harsh white. Skin tones look like actual human skin, not airbrushed avatars. The AI editing pipeline understands natural language, but it doesn't override your vision. You type, warm up the skin tones but keep the background cool, and it actually understands the contrast you're asking for. You say, remove the power line but keep the tree branches, and it isolates the geometry and reconstructs the negative space without leaving unnatural smudges. Every edit is saved as a non-destructive step with a full changelog, so you can experiment freely, push a photo too far, realize it looks artificial, and roll back 3 steps without losing the original frame. The document scanner detects edges automatically, flattens perspective, removes harsh shadows and exports to searchable PDFs in seconds. The virtual reflector in Expert RAW simulates professional lighting bounce for portraits. Horizon lock keeps video level even when you're moving erratically. Focus peaking is fully customizable for precision manual shooting. But the real breakthrough isn't in the tools, it's in the philosophy. The phone no longer tries to fix your photos after you take them. It tries to help you take them right in the first place. And it does it entirely on device, which means your creative process stays private, untracked, and entirely yours. Audio experience has undergone a quiet transformation that mirrors the visual one. The AI audio eraser no longer just cleans up your own recordings. It works on media playing within supported apps, isolating dialogue from crowd noise, wind, or background chatter, all processed on the neural chip. You're watching a concert video with overwhelming crowd noise, you swipe to clean it up. The performers emerge. You're listening to a field recording with wind interference. The system filters out the background while preserving vocal clarity. No audio is uploaded. No data is stored. Your privacy remains completely intact. Voice interaction has matured from rigid command structures to natural, conversational flow. Improved noise-canceling algorithms isolate your voice even in crowded environments, making voice-to-text, smart home control, and hands-free navigation genuinely reliable. The system learns your speech patterns and preferences over time, becoming increasingly personalized and anticipating your needs without ever feeling intrusive. Live captions work offline in dozens of languages, transcribing podcasts, videos, and voice notes in real time, with tap-to-translate functionality for anyone navigating multilingual conversations. It's not AI for show, it's AI for access, for clarity, for inclusion. Multitasking capabilities have been refined to support the growing demand for mobile productivity without sacrificing the simplicity that makes phones useful in the first place. Split screen mode and floating windows now snap to edges with intuitive gestures. Drag and drop functionality works reliably between apps, allowing you to move text, images, and files with a single swipe. The system remembers your preferred app combinations, suggesting them automatically when you enter split view. This reduces setup friction to almost nothing, letting you jump straight into your workflow instead of wrestling with interface limitations. Screen recording supports real-time annotation. You draw directly on your display while recording, highlight specific areas, add handwritten notes, and export the result as a polished, instructional clip. Partial screen recording lets you capture only a selected portion of your screen, perfect for sharing a recipe, a map direction, or a banking confirmation without accidentally exposing your entire desktop to the internet. It's not a feature dump. It's a carefully curated toolkit designed for real people doing real work, and it's built on an architecture that understands you're not here to manage software. You're here to manage your life. The rollout strategy reflects a mature, user-first philosophy that prioritizes stability over spectacle. Updates are rolling out in careful phases, starting with the newest hardware to ensure stability, then expanding methodically to older devices with full transparency about compatibility and regional availability. Beta users transition to stable without data wipes, a simple fix that eliminates the anxiety of factory resets and saves countless hours. Security patches arrive on predictable schedules. Feature drops are integrated smoothly, not dumped in chaotic bundles that break familiar workflows. And the promise of extended software support isn't just a marketing line. It's a commitment to sustainability, to reducing e-waste, to treating your purchase as a long-term partnership instead of a disposable transaction. Your device will stay secure, stay fast, stay relevant, not because the company wants to lock you into a cycle, but because they finally understand that the best software is the kind you don't have to replace. 7 years of updates isn't a promise, it's a policy. And it changes the entire calculus of how we buy, use, and eventually part with our devices. Of course, no major operating system arrives without friction, and the reality of living inside One UI 9.0 includes the expected growing pains. Some users experience notification delays for specific messaging applications until they manually adjust background optimization settings. A minor visual flicker appears occasionally with glass morphism blur effects on older displays, a driver-level quirk that patches resolve within weeks. The initial universal clipboard setup requires multiple devices to share the same network and account before the first successful sync, a handshake process that needs refinement. Third-party applications that heavily customize the system interface or rely on legacy accessibility services occasionally stumble during the transition, requiring developer updates to align with new APIs. But these aren't systemic failures. They're the natural friction of evolution. And what separates this era from previous ones isn't the absence of bugs, it's the maturity of the response cycle. Patch notes are detailed, not vague. Update rollouts are staggered responsibly, not dumped globally on unpredictable schedules. Community feedback is actively incorporated into stable builds. You don't feel like an afterthought, you feel like a participant in a continuous improvement loop. And that changes everything, because software isn't a product you buy and forget. It's a living system that evolves with you. One UI 9.0 understands that. It doesn't pretend to be perfect on day one. It commits to getting better over time. But beyond the features, the patches, and the performance metrics, what's truly shifted is the psychological relationship between user and device. Digital fatigue isn't caused by screens, it's caused by context switching, by fake urgency, by interfaces that treat your attention as a commodity to be mined. One UI 9.0 systematically removes that friction. You spend less time hunting for files, less time silencing phantom alerts, less time wondering why your battery is dead by mid-afternoon, less time configuring settings, less time feeling watched. You spend more time actually living. Your screen time drops, not because you installed a digital well-being app or set aggressive limits, but because the phone no longer demands your engagement. It offers it, quietly, contextually, and only when it's actually useful. When you're reading a long article, it doesn't push notifications. When you're in a meeting, it doesn't vibrate with low-priority updates. When you're offline, it doesn't waste battery trying to sync with unreachable servers. It just waits, and in that waiting there's a profound kind of respect. It's not trying to monetize your attention, it's trying to protect it. And that's a radical act in an industry built on extraction. Looking ahead, it becomes clear that One UI 9.0 isn't an endpoint. It's a foundation. The memory management algorithms, the on-device AI pipeline, the adaptive charging logic, the ecosystem sync protocols, they're all designed to scale. The next iterations will build directly on this architecture, introducing deeper contextual awareness, more refined privacy controls, and enhanced cross-device continuity. But what excites isn't the promise of future features, it's the certainty that the foundation is solid. The phone won't slow down as it ages, the battery won't degrade prematurely from aggressive charging cycles. The AI won't become a surveillance tool disguised as convenience, the ecosystem won't lock you into proprietary walled gardens. It's all built to last, to adapt, to serve, and that longevity isn't just hardware. It's software philosophy. It's a commitment to sustainability, to reducing e-waste, to treating your purchase as a long-term partnership instead of a disposable transaction. Your device will stay secure, stay fast, stay relevant, not because you're forced into an upgrade cycle, but because the system was designed from day one to grow with you. So if you're holding this phone right now, feeling that quiet shift in your daily routine, that subtle recalibration of how you move through the world, know this: you're not just using an operating system, you're living inside a philosophy, one that believes your time is sacred, your privacy is non-negotiable, your attention is yours alone, and sometimes the most revolutionary thing a device can do is simply let you be. It doesn't shout about intelligence, it demonstrates it through restraint. It doesn't track you to help you, it helps by respecting you. It doesn't sell your moments, it protects them. And in a world that profits from your endless scrolling, that quiet confidence isn't just refreshing, it's necessary. We've spent the last 15 years building phones that demand our lives. This is the first system that gives them back. It doesn't measure success in engagement metrics. It measures it in hours reclaimed, in friction removed, in moments preserved. You won't notice it when it's working perfectly. That's the point. Technology at its highest expression isn't the kind you admire, it's the kind you forget. It fades into the background of your routine, your commute, your quiet mornings, your late-night thoughts, your conversations with people who matter more than screens. And when you finally set it down at the end of the day, you won't feel drained by it. You'll feel steadied. Because it didn't ask for your attention, it protected it. It didn't sell your data, it guarded it. It didn't complicate your life, it cleared the path. This isn't the future of smartphones. It's the return to what they were always supposed to be. Tools that amplify humanity, not replace it. And if you're reading this, or listening to it, or feeling it in the quiet rhythm of your own device, know that the shift has already happened. The noise is gone, the friction is fading, and what's left isn't an update, it's an atmosphere, one that finally quietly lets you breathe.